Hello everyone, welcome back. This is the series where I tell you about myself and my life in music. In my past, I spent many years trying to launch a career in the music industry, hitting nothing but dead ends. Today, I'm going to tell you all about those failed efforts. I graduated from college in 2013 with a bachelor's degree in music and was faced with the fact that I was living in one of Canada's most expensive cities with no job and a very small, unsteady source of income derived from gigging and session work. I'd been playing around Toronto as early as my first year out there, doing a wide range of gigs. For example, there was a group of New Orleans-style jazz musicians who would give me a call whenever they needed a guitar player. I'd hear from them sometimes only an hour before the gig, grab my acoustic, show up, and strum songs out of a book from 10 p.m. until closing. It usually paid anywhere between $30 and $50 depending on how the tip jar did, throw in a couple pitchers, a stop off at the Chinese food restaurant beside the venue, and that was the night. I always enjoyed playing these gigs. The music was fun, it required no preparation, and I really liked the group of people that I played with. It didn't pay all that well, but that's not what it's always about. On the other more lucrative side of things, I played a number of mainstream country shows around the greater Toronto area, ranging from one-off festivals to full-on tours. These paid quite a bit more, $100 to $200 per night, but were less frequent. Throw in a variety of other gigs and sessions, and this was where the bulk of my money was coming from. I did keep doing this kind of work right up to a few years ago until I was able to earn a full-time income through YouTube. Would I consider myself a failed session guitarist? I guess for the sake of this video, yes, though retired might be a better term. I didn't reach the upper echelon of arena touring that some of my friends have, but I stepped away from it because I had something else going on and I didn't see that side of things growing into anything more. So call that whatever you want. Now, during the summer in Toronto when I was no longer a student, I applied for every single job remotely connected to the music industry that I could find. I still have the cover letters for them. I can see that I applied for jobs at couple music stores, jobs teaching guitar, numerous internships at record labels. There's one here for a music supervisor position. If there was a listing for a music-related job in Toronto in the summer of 2013, I applied for it. And I didn't get so much as an interview for any of them except for one, which was a listing for a job working for a music-based TV show. Upon accepting that position, I came to realize that it was actually an unpaid internship, which was basically just trying to get funding for some dude's passion project. I got out of that pretty quick. I can safely say that I failed to become a music industry lackey in Toronto. I failed big time. So after a summer of hemorrhaging money, I sold all my furniture, packed up my car, and moved back home to Winnipeg to live with my parents. Now, I should note that I wasn't totally lacking in direction during this time. The plan that I'd forged for my career in my last year of music school was to get a publishing deal and write mainstream country music down in Nashville. All my free time was spent writing, developing that skill set, and networking around Toronto. I didn't grow up on country music by any means. There's a lot of it that I really don't like, but I found that I had a real knack for writing in that style. On top of that, there are people in that facet of the industry who make comfortable livings, and my mentality has always been, if there's someone else doing it, I can do it too. So on my way driving home from Toronto to Winnipeg, I made my first stop down in Nashville to network and lay some roots. This was one of many drives I would make down there over the years. When I got back here to Winnipeg, again, I applied to every job under the music umbrella, and again, nothing came of it. I remember how discouraging it felt to write cover letter upon cover letter and then hear nothing back from them. It wasn't the happiest period in my life by any means. I had no job lined up. I knew what I wanted, but in order for a Canadian to move to the US, you need to, in the words of the US government, prove that you are an extraordinarily talented alien. I couldn't do that because I was nobody. At this point, I was single, living with my parents, whereas all my friends were having kids, buying houses, getting married, and I just felt like I was spinning my tires. There were two projects that I became involved in during this time. One day, I went for a consultation at an organization called Manitoba Music, which is aimed to help local musicians in any way possible. The guy I talked to mentioned there was a lot of money to be made in general sound design and commission music for films, video games, TV shows, and the like. I teamed up with a friend of mine who had a studio in an attempt to get in on this. Here's a short look at the promo we made for our company. It never took off, and we didn't even make a penny. In hindsight, I can see a lot of issues. First of all, without being hyper-connected, I don't think the work that the guy at Manitoba Music talked about was available at all. We would have needed to spend full-time hours networking for the project to take off, and when you aren't even based in a major entertainment city, that's more or less impossible. On top of that, royalty-free music libraries were becoming more available and affordable. We would have needed to have gotten in on that game, which didn't make sense for us. ASO Productions was supposed to be a way to kickstart things, earn some quick cash, but it didn't even get out of the gates. But the same guy that I started that project with and I were working on another project that we were hoping would be the big one that we could develop careers around, a mainstream country band called Belvedere. Of course, we knew that this would take some time to build, but we did have a plan to get our foot in the door of the Canadian music market. And when the band eventually ran its course, we would use the experience and clout to propel us into the next stages of our respective careers. My business partner Adam was going to use the projected success to further establish himself as a producer, something he had already been working on for years, and I was going to be able to get my visa so I could go and write music down in Nashville. Adam was singing, producing, and managing the band. I was writing music, playing guitar, and that was going to be the nucleus of this thing. How were we going to gain recognition in an already saturated market? Well, we were going to use the same approach that I had seen work for a friend of mine's band. We would create crazy YouTube videos that would go viral, we would develop a fan base that way, and then go rock all over the world. Now, great plan in theory, especially since I had many concepts in mind for these videos, but ultimately it fell apart for a variety of reasons. There are a number of government grants available in Canada designed to help fund these types of projects. We applied for them and we were declined for all of them, which is something I still take issue with. I could probably go on a big rant about that. In fact, I may have in one video in the past, but now is not the time for that. This made it tougher, as now we were funding the whole thing on our own, and I didn't have any money. We also realized somewhere around this time that Adam wasn't quite the right fit for the frontman of the group, so we spent the better part of a year and a half searching for a singer, and when we finally found the right guy, I came to a realization. My plan for making these elaborate YouTube videos required a lot of work, which was fine for me. I had nothing else going on at the time, so I could dump hours and hours into something I believed in, even if it didn't make any money at first. However, it wasn't fair to expect others to do the same thing when they had other obligations like jobs, families, university, especially when at this point it was nothing more than a vision. We did release some things with this band. There's a lyric video to a song I wrote. There's a cover of another song that I released on this channel. I'll put up links to those in the description if you want to check them out. We did a handful of shows, but ultimately I realized that I wasn't going to be able to get the time commitment that I needed to realize my vision from these guys. I was getting frustrated by how long it was taking to get this project off the ground, so I decided to try out some of these video ideas on Instagram. These short 15-second videos were received quite well. And before long, people I didn't even know were commenting and liking my posts. I changed my handle to samuraiguitarist and started up a YouTube channel, which led me to where I am now. The band slowly trickled off as I was putting more and more of my effort here, and I also stopped going down to Nashville to write a network as I was letting go of the idea that I would eventually move down there. So you could say that I failed to become a staff writer. I also failed to become a co-leader of a mainstream country band. All these failed attempts at a music career brought me to where I am now. I remember years ago I went to some industry event back in Toronto, and one of the speakers had a great analogy. He said that building a career in music is kind of like trying to get through a heavy and dark forest. Anyone can walk in, most will get lost, many will give up and turn around. It may take some backtracking, it will probably take a while, and at times it will be exceptionally frustrating. But if you're persistent enough, it is possible to get to the other side, even if you pop out far from where you thought you would. Through all of my dead ends and failures, this was something that I would regularly repeat to myself. So if you're about to embark on that journey into the dark forest, or if you're stuck somewhere in the middle, hopefully you can take something away from this video. And if you're not pursuing a career in music at all, hopefully you enjoyed my story. Thank you all for watching, whether you've been here since the beginning or if this is the first video of mine that you're checking out. Whatever successes I have had are because of people like you. Until next time, I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I'll see you again soon.